When my brother told me I'd never make it without him, I smiled and said nothing. Deep down, I believed him. I thought he was smarter, stronger, and somehow destined to live a bigger life than I ever could. But that night, as I packed my bags in silence, I promised myself I'd prove him wrong. You won't believe what happened next. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let me know where you're listening from in the comments. My name's Harper, and for most of my life, I was the quiet sister, the one who blended into the background while my brother, Ryan, stole every spotlight. He was the golden child, the one everyone bragged about at family gatherings. Ryan just landed another client. Ryan's business is expanding. Ryan's helping Harper get on her feet. They never saw the truth behind those perfect smiles. Ryan wasn't helping me. He was keeping me small. When our dad passed away, I was 22, just finishing college and struggling to figure out who I wanted to be. Ryan stepped in right away, offering to take care of things. At first, I was grateful. He handled bills, made sure mom was okay, even helped me move back home for a while. But slowly, his help became a leash. If I missed a family dinner, he'd say, "Don't forget who pays your car insurance, Harper." If I hesitated about working for him at his marketing company, he'd laugh. "You'd be lost out there without me." And maybe he was right. I didn't have the confidence to argue. Ryan always had a way of making me doubt myself, like every mistake I made was proof that I needed him. When I tried to talk about my dream of becoming an interior designer, he'd roll his eyes. "You can't even keep your room organized, Harper. You're not business material. Be realistic." That word realistic became a knife that cut through every dream I had. I remember sitting on the porch one night after another one of our arguments, staring at the stars and wondering if I'd ever be enough. I'd designed this little sketchbook full of room ideas, colors, furniture layouts, my private world. But every time I showed it to Ryan, he'd find something wrong. "Your colors don't match. That layout's off. No one would pay for that." The sad part? I believed him. He was my brother, after all. The person I'd admired since childhood. I thought his criticism was love. That maybe he was just trying to keep me from embarrassing myself. But one afternoon, while visiting his office, something happened that changed everything. One of his clients, a woman named Sandra, came in to discuss a branding project. While Ryan stepped out to take a call, she noticed my sketchbook open on the desk. She flipped through it and gasped, "Did you draw these?" I nodded, embarrassed. "These are stunning. You have an eye for detail. This could easily be your business." Before I could respond, Ryan came back and quickly snatched the sketchbook from her. "It's nothing, just her little hobby." He smiled, but I saw the flash of irritation in his eyes, as if my talent had no right to be noticed. That night, something inside me cracked. I lay awake replaying Sandra's words over and over. "This could easily be your business." For the first time in years, I wondered if Ryan wasn't protecting me at all. Maybe he was protecting his ego. The next few weeks were a blur of frustration and silence. I started avoiding his calls, focusing on small online design courses. I told mom I was just exploring, but she didn't understand. "Your brother just wants what's best for you," she'd say. "He's been through more, Harper. He knows the world." Maybe. But he didn't know my world. The breaking point came one Sunday evening. We were having dinner at mom's, just the three of us. I mentioned that a local cafe had offered me a chance to redesign their seating space. Nothing major, just a little project that made me proud. Ryan laughed loudly. "Oh, come on. A cafe? You think picking paint colors is a career now?" Mom tried to shush him, but he wasn't done. "You'd be begging for money in a month if you tried to start your own business. Face it, Harper, you wouldn't last 3 months without me." The table went silent. I looked at him, waiting for a flicker of regret, a hint of softness. But there was none. He meant it. And for the first time, I saw him clearly, not as the confident big brother who protected me, but as a man who needed me to stay small to feel big. That night, I went to my room and stared at my reflection in the mirror. My hands were shaking, but my voice wasn't. "He's wrong," I whispered. "He has to be wrong." By midnight, I had made my decision. I packed my clothes, my sketchbooks, and the few design tools I'd collected. I wrote a note for mom: "I need to find out who I am without him. Please don't worry." And I left. No dramatic confrontation, no shouting match, just quiet resolve. As I drove through the sleeping streets, the city lights reflected in my rearview mirror, I realized something. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't a scream, it's silence. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't have a solid plan or much money. But for the first time in years, the fear in my chest felt like freedom. I remember gripping the steering wheel and whispering to myself, "You said I'd never make it without you, Ryan, watch me." When I left home that night, I didn't even know what city I was heading to. I just drove until the highway swallowed every trace of Ryan's voice from my head. By sunrise, I saw the sign "Welcome to Charleston." It wasn't home, but it was quiet, and quiet was all I needed. The first few weeks were brutal. I rented a small attic apartment with slanted ceilings and a stubborn heater that coughed instead of warming up. I stretched my savings thin instant noodles, second-hand furniture, and sketching at night under a flickering lamp. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't being told what I couldn't do. Each morning, I'd walk to a nearby coffee shop with my sketchbook and laptop. The barista, a cheerful woman named Mia, would greet me with, "Back to work, designer girl?" I'd blush, laugh, and nod. I wasn't sure if I had the right to call myself that yet, but the way she said it, like she already believed I could be, made me sit up straighter. One afternoon, while sipping lukewarm coffee and editing a mock-up design, I overheard a couple at the next table arguing about their new bakery's interior. They had a blank space and no idea what to do with it. I hesitated for a minute, then turned and said softly, "I could help, if you want." They looked at me skeptically. At first I was a stranger with coffee stains on my sleeves and nervous hands, but they gave me a chance. That tiny bakery became my first real project. I spent 2 weeks transforming the space with thrift furniture, warm lighting, and handmade wall art. When the owners saw the final look, they cried. I did too, but I hid it behind a nervous laugh. That bakery became the talk of the neighborhood. Photos spread on local blogs. And within a month, my inbox began to fill with messages. Small cafes, boutiques, even an office startup, they all wanted that Harper touch. It was slow at first, but it was mine. I started a business under the name Harper and Hue Interiors. The name made me smile. It sounded like a dream that finally belonged to me. I built a simple website, posted before and after photos, and waited. Soon, I wasn't waiting anymore. By the end of the year, I had a small team: 2 assistants, 1 part-time carpenter, and Mia, the barista, who became my project coordinator. She liked to joke. I went from steaming lattes to steaming wallpaper. Life was far from perfect, but it was beautiful. I was finally designing spaces that told people's stories and rebuilding my own at the same time. Then came the message that stopped my breath. It was from a new client, a high-end event company based in Atlanta. They wanted someone to redesign their office and coordinate decor for their upcoming corporate gala. It was the biggest project offer I'd ever received. I said yes before fear could whisper no. When I arrived at their glass-walled headquarters, everything gleamed: marble floors, gold accents, confidence in every corner. The receptionist smiled as she handed me a visitor badge. "You're meeting with our operations director, Mr. Hayes. He's expecting you." I followed her directions, nerves fluttering like trapped wings in my chest. The elevator doors opened, and then I saw him, tall, sharply dressed, and holding a file I recognized. Ryan, my brother. For a second I thought I was hallucinating. But when he turned, his eyes widened to shock, disbelief, then that old flicker of pride masking as superiority. "Harper," he said slowly, voice sharp as ever. "What are you doing here?" I steadied my breathing. "I was hired by your company." His expression froze. You work for Harper and Hue?" "No," I said, meeting his gaze. "I am Harper and Hue." The silence between us stretched. For years I'd imagined this moment: what I'd say, how I'd act, how satisfying it would be. But standing there, I didn't feel angry. I felt free. He cleared his throat, eyes darting away. "Right. Well, we'll see what you can do." That was his version of surrender, pretending he still had control. Over the next few weeks, we worked side by side on the project. He was all business, polite but distant. Sometimes I'd catch him watching my team coordinate colors, fabric samples, and lighting designs with seamless confidence. He'd frown as if trying to piece together how the sister he once called incompetent had become this version of herself. One afternoon, during a client review, his boss, a stern but fair woman named Eleanor, looked around the newly designed office and said, "This is brilliant work, Ms. Harper. You've elevated the entire space. Mr. Hayes, you were right to bring her in." Ryan's jaw tightened. He hadn't recommended me, the head office had. But he didn't correct her. He just nodded stiffly. After the meeting, he caught up with me in the hallway. "You did good work," he muttered. It wasn't much, but it was something. Still, I didn't forget the years of being told I couldn't. The humiliation, the smallness, the doubt. I didn't need revenge in the traditional sense, his silence was enough. The gala night arrived like a dream. My designs lit up the ballroom, cascading floral arches, glowing chandeliers, elegance woven into every corner. People praised the decor, asked for my card, complimented my company. And then, amid the laughter and music, I saw him again, Ryan, standing quietly at the edge of the crowd, watching me being congratulated. He looked proud, but also humbled. When our eyes met, he raised his glass slightly, a silent truce. I smiled, not out of spite but peace. For the first time, I didn't need his validation. I had my own. Later that night, as I stepped outside to breathe, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Ryan, you did it, Harper. I was wrong. You didn't just make it, you made it twice." I stared at the screen for a long time, the city lights blurring through my tears. Then I typed back, "Me no, Ryan. We did it," when I finally let go of what was holding me back. He didn't reply, but he didn't have to. Because at that moment, I realized the truth: I hadn't just built a business, I'd rebuilt myself. And that was the sweetest success of all. After the gala, everything changed faster than I could have imagined. The next morning, my inbox was overflowing. Journalists, new clients, and corporate executives all wanted to work with Harper and Hue Interiors. My small business had officially stepped into the big league. Within weeks, my team tripled in size. We moved into a glass office downtown, one that overlooked the same skyline I used to stare at from my tiny attic apartment, wondering if I'd ever get here. I had finally done it. Not out of anger, but out of belief. Yet even as success poured in, a part of me still thought of Ryan. I hadn't seen him since the gala. No calls, no messages. Just that one text: "You did it, Harper." I was wrong. And maybe that was enough. One chilly afternoon, months later, I was finalizing a proposal when my assistant knocked softly. "There's a Mr. Hayes here to see you," she said. My hands froze. "Ryan?" She nodded. "Should I send him in?" I hesitated, heart thudding. It had been almost a year. Then I nodded. Yes. He walked in, looking older, not just in years, but in humility. Gone was the overly confident swagger. He was dressed neatly, but his eyes carried something I'd never seen before: regret. "Hey, Harp," he said quietly, using my old nickname. It caught me off guard. "Ryan." He looked around my office: the clean marble floors, the wall of framed features from magazines, the team outside laughing softly as they worked. "You've really built something incredible," he said finally. I smiled faintly. I had good motivation. He chuckled under his breath. "Yeah, me being a jerk." Silence stretched between us for a moment, and then he exhaled. "I wanted to apologize," he said, voice low, "for how I treated you. For every word that made you doubt yourself. I was wrong, Harper. I thought I was protecting you, but really I was scared you'd outgrow me. And you did." I studied him, the same brother who once told me I'd never make it without him. Now standing in my office, searching for forgiveness he didn't think he deserved. "You hurt me deeply, Ryan," I said softly. "But I'm not angry anymore. I think we both became better people after breaking apart." He nodded slowly. "Maybe so." Then he smiled faintly. "Actually, I came for more than an apology. I wanted to ask if you'd be willing to take on a project for me." I blinked. "A project?" "Yeah," he said. "I left that company after the gala. Started my own firm. It's small now, but we're getting steady work. I'm building an office and I want you to design it." For a second I just stared at him, the irony almost poetic. The same brother who once dismissed my dreams was now asking for my creative touch to build his. "Are you sure?" I asked, teasing lightly. "You know I charge premium rates now." He grinned, and for the first time in years, it reached his eyes. "You're worth every penny." We both laughed, not awkwardly, but genuinely. It felt like exhaling after years of holding my breath. Over the next few weeks, we worked together again, but this time as equals. There were no orders barked, no judgment, no doubt. Just collaboration, mutual respect. During one of our meetings, he leaned back in his chair and said, "You know, Dad would have been proud of you." My throat tightened. "You think so?" "No," he said, smiling. "I know so. And Mom too. They both always said you had something special. I just didn't see it then." Tears pricked my eyes, but I blinked them away. I think we all had growing up to do. The office we designed for his new company was bright, minimalist, and full of life, a reflection of renewal. On the final day of installation, Ryan handed me a small framed picture. It was from our childhood, me, holding a paintbrush twice my size, covered in color, and him grinning proudly behind me. You've always been this person, he said. You just needed space to become her. That night, I sat alone in my own office, looking out over the city skyline again. I thought about how far I'd come from being the sister underestimated, to the woman who built something that even her doubters now admired. And yet, the sweetest part wasn't proving Ryan wrong. It was proving myself right. A few months later, I was invited to speak at a national design conference. Standing on that stage, looking out at hundreds of faces, I opened with a simple truth. They said I'd never make it without them, so I made it twice. Once in business and once in forgiveness. The room went silent, then erupted in applause. But I wasn't thinking about the applause. I was thinking about that little girl covered in paint, the one who dreamed and doubted and dared anyway. After the event, I got a text from Ryan again. Ryan, Mom would have cried seeing that speech. You were amazing. Maybe she saw it anyway. And maybe she did. Because when I stepped outside into the evening air, the wind felt warm and full of memory. I could almost hear her voice, soft and proud. See, Harper? You never needed permission to shine. I smiled through the tears. This wasn't revenge, this was redemption. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. The best revenge isn't winning against the people who doubted you, it's becoming the person you were meant to be all along. I walked to my car, heels clicking against the pavement, the city lights shimmering around me. My reflection in the window smiled back, strong, graceful, and free. And I whispered to myself, he said I'd never make it without him, so I did it twice. Then I drove off into the night, leaving every trace of the past in my rearview mirror, not in bitterness, but in gratitude. Because I didn't just survive. I soared.